So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this professional learning opportunity. I'm Jessica Roberts with NCEA, and I will be facilitating this webinar today. Just a few housekeeping notes as people are joining. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to use the Q&A or chat windows. We will be monitoring the questions and we'll try to answer them in the allotted time. Within 24 hours of today's webinar, you will receive an email link to the recording as well as an online survey. Once you complete the survey, a certificate of completion for the webinar will be emailed to you. Today's webinar, Strategy and Data, Improve Enrollment and Drive Long-Term Growth, is sponsored by Redeker Software. Today, our presenters are Ted Shmora, Technical Sales Manager for Redeker Software, and Marie Keith, Founder and CEO of RE Consulting. During the presentation, the presenters will discuss how your school can bring together a strategic vision, people, and technology to create a better experience for parents and students while streamlining the admission process. Before I turn it over to our presenters, let us begin in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. O Christ, our teacher, we thank you for the gift of Catholic schools, where the message of your life, death, and resurrection is proclaimed, discipleship is modeled, worship of you is cultivated, and a community is experienced. Increase our zeal for ensuring that all children and families can benefit from an authentic Catholic education, and that Catholic schools grow in their ability to nurture the souls and form the minds of students for generations to come. We ask all this in your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you both for joining us today, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ted and Marie.
Excellent. Marie, ladies first, right? Or not? So, Marie, I just want to make sure that you can still hear. I think we're having some technical difficulties here.
I will send her a chat here.
Just a moment. Hey, Marie, we're just checking in with your audio to make sure everything's still working. Marie, can you hear us, Marie? Hi, Marie, it looks like Marie's speakers might be down.
Marie, you might need to exit and go ahead and come back in and see if that helps to reconnect your audio there.
I apologize.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
So sorry.
I was just going to say, I can't do this without you.
I'm sorry. See, we made us little, so I couldn't see everybody.
No worries. We're just getting started here.
Excellent.
I was going to say, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am Ted Shimura from Redeker Software, working here in the sales department for 9 years, and very happy to be able to connect with our Catholic schools again. Catholic schools by far represent our largest market segment here at Redeker, where we've been serving schools for 43 years. And I have with me here today, Marie Keith. Marie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Good morning, good afternoon, whichever time zone you're on. I'm Marie Keith, and I am an enrollment consultant. I work with private schools throughout the United States and helping them to increase their enrollment and their retention. I've worked with many districts throughout the United States, and I've taken them from areas where they thought they might be closing or aren't sure how they're going to stay open to 10 to 20% increases, and also work to help you with retention, training, hiring the best person for your enrollment team. And I'm happy to be here today.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that's our partnership with Marie. She's a specialist in enrollment and getting enrollment numbers up and retaining students. And of course, Redeker is in the business of helping schools manage student information with our student information system software and admissions management software. So we're natural partners and have had the opportunity to serve some mutual customers before. So Marie, why don't you tell us about the main goals today?
Yeah, well, excellent. I think there's 3 big components to being a successful school. Number one, you have to have a strategic vision. You have to know what your goal is, where you're going, and everyone has to be on the same page. And of course, you have to have the right people to do that. Everybody has to believe it in your mission and has to understand the mission, and they have to be the right people in place. Oftentimes in schools, we have that person in place who's not necessarily the best person for that job. So we have to have the right people in place. And then, of course, in a world like today, we must have the technology. Using paper for many of the tasks today is going back to our old ways in the Catholic schools and the private schools and the Christian schools. We need new technology to rid us of our tasks that pull us down and take us into the century and enable us to spend time doing the things we need to do with people and build relationships.
And it's not, this is not a dirty topic, right? Talking about increasing enrollment, it can sound kind of selfish. It can sound kind of like number or money motivated, but really it's more than that, right?
Correct. And you know what? Everyone has to be involved in enrollment because enrollment drives everything. Everything. It drives your revenue. And if you don't have the revenue, then you can't hire teachers. You can't increase salaries or pay salaries. You can't order supplies. You can't do your facility maintenance. And of course, you can't purchase the needed technology. So yes, enrollment should be at the forefront of everyone who works in a school's priority list.
And you're always talking about the top 10 challenges. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes. I mean, one thing that, repeats itself over and over again when I look at schools and I kind of go in and I analyze, what's happening here? Why are they not increasing their enrollment? What's happening at that school? There's 10 things that kind of keep coming up, combination, maybe all, several of them. Number one is that the school has no strategic enrollment plan, a goal, or a vision. It blows me away when I walk in and I find out that somebody doesn't know what their goal is for the next year. Catholic schools are not open for business. When everyone looks at me, it kind of frowns on that one, but we'll get into it and you'll understand why I say that Catholic schools are not open for business. They have limited or untrained staff, and many of you will probably be shaking your heads. No data, and that's where Ted's going to come in with Rediker. No marketing, word of mouth. They count on the word of mouth for everything. The websites have a lot to be desired. Actually, many of them would scare people away. Inefficient lead nurturing and follow-up. The leads come in, but then they're dropped. Time kills. And that's where, of course, technology will come in as well. That lack of storytelling and personalization, making it about them and selling everybody something different. And of course, your leadership. That's probably one of the most important things is if you don't have the right leadership who's in the game with you, then nothing's going to happen.
And of course, leadership consists of people. So it's a natural segue here.
Yep. And, we can't implement that great strategic vision you have without the people. And who are those people? Your teachers, your staff, your administrators, your donors, your students, your families, and your parish. They all make up those that have to follow that strategic vision.
Technology plays into this big. And what do you have to say about that?
Well, you heard me say time kills, and technology is going to help you to not have that time killing. Paper applications, all that paper that's around your school, there's no need for that anymore today. And you get a product like Rediker software, and your life is going to be so much easier. We'll show you that today, but no one should be having applicants fill out paper applications. No one should be, having people drop off the material, the birth certificates and all those things and coming in and out. Everything should be done with the flash of technology.
Yeah, technology, it can touch so many different aspects of a school, but so many different aspects of a school touch on enrollment. And just in a few minutes here, we'll start to take a look at some of the software platforms that can really help a school maintain their students and to attract new families into the fold.
Yep. Yeah. So let's just kind of go through those 10 challenges one by one, and we can show you how the strategy, the people, and the technology are going to help you to overcome those objections. Number one, no strategic enrollment plan, no goals, no vision. All right. At this moment right now, if you are sitting and you do not know what your goal is to open your school up in August or September, then your school does not have a strategic vision or a plan. You can't enroll if you do not know what your goal is, and you don't know how you're doing or whether you're achieving that otherwise. And then, of course, you get that goal and you have to back it out. You have to back it backwards and say, all right, we have this number in retained from last year, which means we had to recruit this many people. And do we have the people and the technology in place to enable that to happen? So if your school doesn't have a strategic plan or a goal or a vision in place, you have to go to your leadership and they have to get this in place so that you know what you're working towards. It's hard to work towards a goal that you don't know where the goal is. Catholic schools are not open for business. This was one of the first things I found out when I started to get into this business. I would walk around the schools or call schools, shop schools. The phones were rolling to answering machines. It said, if it was after 2:30 in the afternoon, you couldn't get a live person anymore. Nobody could get any information on weekends or after hours or during the summer. And that's a critical time. Our families, our mothers, our parents are sitting maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night thinking about where they're sending their child to school. Now, I'm not telling you have to have a person sitting in your office every day, 24 hours a day, but this is where the technology comes in. And this is where technology can have you open for business 24/7. And Ted can tell you a little bit about how they can do that.
Well, let's just start. I mean, obviously, the natural place to start is the website being available 24/7. But, there's got to be more than just a great website that has a whole bunch of information. It's got to be really, really easy for parents to engage immediately when they want to. So a good site will feature a system that allows a parent to come in privately and securely any time of the day or night on their big computer screen or on their little tablet or their mobile phone and actually get into this process. So, our customers enjoy the ability for parents to come on and start to fill out these application forms or inquiry forms any time of the day or night, providing as much or as little information that the school requires to ultimately make a decision about this particular student. So they're free to engage with these interactive forms. Our customers are free to collect documentation or files from parents like birth certificates, sacramental records, medical records, I don't know, maybe a copy of the report card from the prior school the student came from, and to go ahead and authenticate all of this information. And heck, even, if necessary, go ahead and pay an application fee and get this information submitted in 24 hours a day.
That was probably
on the flip side. I'm sorry, go ahead, Marie.
Probably one of the things I love most about I've used many of the software packages, but I love the fact that I actually was involved with my clients in helping them create and write their own customized programs so that it was exactly what you needed. You weren't fitting into, one that another software company had created. And that's where the beauty of it comes in is this is all yours. This is everything that you need for your unique school.
If I had to summarize the purpose of our admissions and enrollment management tool for schools, it would be to free the people up who are doing a lot of manual data entry and paper shuffling so that they could do the thing that is the most important in enrolling new families, and that's having personal conversations with them. So we don't want them spending time going through and manually updating files. We want to have a predefined process that the school has set up, defining their admissions process, making sure that they can keep track of where each and every prospect is, making sure that they can take copious notes, making sure that if there's multiple people at the school who are working in this area, that they can collaborate together and that the school can quickly record their admissions decision and then communicate with that prospect family by using personalized email templates that'll pick up and merge information from each one of those prospect records into the communication, making it look like you sat there and typed the whole thing out personally when you actually didn't. And then ultimately getting them to the point where they're ready to be enrolled in the school. And then, of course, we're able to pass all of their data that was collected during the admissions process and bring that on over into the enrolled student management system. So this allows schools to be open 24 hours a day and be open for business any single time. Right, Marie?
Yes, it's nothing like it. It definitely frees you up. So now we have our limited and our untrained staff. Many front desk secretaries are doing the enrollment. The principal may be handling it as well. Maybe nobody. It just kind of rolls in, right? Someone has to own enrollment. Somebody has to put on that enrollment hat every single day and say, okay, what is our goal today? How many students do we have coming in? And then how is that person trained? Are they just thrown into the job, or are they taught how to give a tour, how to overcome objections? What tools are they given to be successful? Ongoing support and professional development, being able to be constantly trained on the new technology that is out there, or new during COVID, how to overcome the objection of why do our kids have to wear masks, or do your children have to have their temperature taken? Accountability, they have to be accountable as well. I mean, you can't just put someone in a job and then say, hey, do your best. Well, what are my goals? What am I accountable for doing? And bottom line is, can you afford not to have someone owning enrollment and being in that enrollment spot? Because if they're focusing on enrollment every day, 2-3 enrollments they're paying for themselves, without a doubt. And again, going over to the technology side, this is another area that can be helped in terms of your staff and what they need to know.
Yeah, well, there's two points of view from where I stand as a vendor. We are certain to make knowledge available to all of our customers. We do this in a variety of ways. We've got fantastic online documentation so customers can do some self-service, but we also are providing many opportunities to train our customers in the utilization of all of these great tools. And we have online workshops, we have online training courses that can be registered for, all very affordable. But we find that it's the customers that make that extra investment in learning the tools that ultimately end up getting the most out of them, and they get the most bang for their buck, if you would allow me to say that. The other thing that we find is that the customers that take advantage of basic technology tools like screen recording technology, if they have an employee that knows how to do a particular function in the software, have them take 5 or 10 minutes and make a video recording, so that if the day ever comes when they leave the school, you don't all of a sudden have somebody who has no idea what to do and might be forced to go and get some training that might actually be quite expensive. These tools are free. And by just taking a little bit of time and doing some planning, schools can leverage modern technology to do such a better job training their own internal employees.
And now we go to the part of no data. And it was interesting.
What do you mean about this? This sounds insulting. What do you mean schools have no data? What are you talking about?
You would be absolutely surprised when I will go and I will say, who knows how many applications they got last year? Who knows how many of those applications turned into enrollments? What's your conversion rate? How many leads did that marketing effort pull in? You would be blown away, Ted, at the number of schools that do not have or track this information. And maybe knowing why they should be tracking it would give them more motivation to track it. But, I've seen schools where 1 year after the year is done, they erase all those leads from whatever system they're using, and then they start fresh again. I mean, to me, a lead is a lead. It's a warm lead, it's a hot lead, but no lead should be removed at any point. And that's the beauty of, again, technology, is you have the ability to put all your leads in. Whether it's coming from an outside open house, whether it's somebody who filled in an application, whether it's, a list that you purchased of eligible, whether it's that baptismal list from your parish, and being able to work those leads, use those leads, invite those people to anything and everything that's going on at your school. And that's something I absolutely love about your technology in particular.
Sure. Well, again, on the admission side, it's important to know the makeup of that database. And, for our customers, we never, ever, ever suggest getting rid of a lead. If there was a lead that came in this year, for a ninth grader, and they ended up not coming to the school, well, guess what? They're a perfectly fine prospect for 10th grade. Or 11th grade or 12th grade, and so on and so forth. So we encourage our customers to keep those prospects in their database and use the tools to market to them. We also certainly encourage customers to have this ability to have the metrics that they need to make some decisions. Now, some schools, have access to sophisticated tools that would help them chart or graph their enrollment levels and see trends, etc. There are some very sophisticated tools that are available, but there's also some very, very simplistic options. I mean, something that our customers using Admin Plus enjoy doing occasionally is simply taking data right outside of the SIS. I'm going to go through and extract the number of students that are enrolled at each grade level in my school currently. And I do this, I'm going to go ahead and grab these numbers. I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that I made up in about 10 minutes that allows me to answer no less than 10 specific questions about enrollment at my school. First of all, let me just transform this data and get it into a format that I can use to bring back over here and plug in for my April numbers. So if I go ahead and put that in there, you'll see immediately that this simple spreadsheet is telling me the change in enrollment at each grade level, whether it went up or down. It's showing me the change in my total enrollment from month to month, comparing it to my capacity for the school. It's showing me where I am. And of course, all of this data can be easily used to graph your enrollment over time, with by month or even by yearly. And all of this is done, don't tell anybody, this is free. This is Excel, and this is simply the ability to extract some current data from your SIS and get it into a spreadsheet that can answer dozens of questions for you about enrollment.
I've watched the clients, the principal will come over and say, hey, we have a board meeting tonight. Can you gather together for me all the current enrollment data? The person will spend the entire afternoon, sitting, tallying, writing all this information down, and then handing it over to them. Whereas 1 second, actually, if the principal's, understands it during the meeting, she could just sit on their computer and show exactly a live screenshot of exactly where they are. That you were showing about those grades. Let's say, for example, you're looking at the data and all of a sudden 3 years in a row, you're watching kids drop off after third grade, now going into your fourth grade. Well, something looks funny here. Is it the teacher? Is it something that's happening in that grade? Is it another school that offers something incredible in fourth grade? Without that data, you do not know how to improve. You don't know where you need to go. So, and leading back to that, the no marketing, hey, what's your major form of marketing? Word of mouth. Well, what else are you doing? How do you know that's your major form of marketing when you're not doing anything else? And of course, you shouldn't do anything else unless you have the data. The data is important. Again, another story, I was sitting in a school one day and they said, well, can we do a billboard again? We had a billboard last year and it worked really well for us. And I said, well, show me the data on the billboard. How many students, how many leads did it pull in? How many came in for interviews? How many did it enroll? And what did it cost? They only knew that the billboard cost $1,000. They knew nothing else. And I said, well, if you're going to go to your pastor and say, give me this billboard for $1,000, but you can't show them what the return on that investment is, then I would say no to you. But if you can go in and say, Father, we want to do a billboard. It costs $1,000. Last year, we got 50 leads from it. And out of that, we enrolled 5 people. 5 people at $4,000 tuition is $20,000 just 1 year. That's if they stay 1 year. We have, look at the return on the investment, 1 for, 1,000 for 20,000 plus. It's a no-brainer. If Father says no to that, then he's crazy. But you have to have that data to be able to do that. And that's where you get that awesome information from here.
And Maria, I specifically remember you telling me about the case where a parent had asked the school, hey, do you have any other kids, from my neck of the woods going to the school that I might know? And you stressed how important you were actually blown away by this, what I think is this very, very simple thing. But, in our system, if I need to give me a list of all the, the third graders that come from, Springfield, and they're the girls, this is stuff that you should be able to pull up in just a couple of seconds, right?
Mm-hmm. Overcoming objections. You have somebody who's sitting in front of you and they want to come to your school, but there's no busing. They're just with inside that busing, but too far for their little one to walk. Well, you could easily pull up other children in the neighborhood and say, hey, these kids' parents all drive them in. Let me connect you with them. Let's see if you can work out a carpool with them. And there you are, you're saving that enrollment that would have walked out because of a transportation area. You can pull up the information right away. So, that it gives you lots of, your needs, your sources, it shows you your conversion, and it shows you where you're going to improve. The exit interview where, you can capture where somebody went to college. So you can show your success stories, where your feeder schools are. So, as a high school, maybe where to spend, what elementary schools to spend your most time in. Where do you get the most, feeder schools? How many leads you get per month? That's kind of an interesting one, is because, we all of a sudden, we had an open house in October and look at all the leads we got. What are we doing? Why is it cyclical like that? And when do we need to up our staffing and be sure we are available, because this is when we get most of our leads.
Yeah. And the truth is, even rudimentary admissions or enrollment management systems will be able to present the visualizations of this data pretty much right out of the box. I mean, if you're don't have a system that's allows these types of capabilities, then we would obviously highly encourage you to explore the use of a dedicated admissions management system. It can be absolutely key in getting some additional students enrolled in the school and helping you with retention as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your websites, when I say, that's one of the areas, your website, your open house. Again, when your office is not open, everyone is, and even when it is open, people are going to your website first. And that's the first impression. It's like picking up the phone and calling your school and getting that first impression. If your website, is not, user friendly, if it's not parent or prospect centered, okay, which means you do not want to scare people away. You want to pull in versus weeding out. So if you've got on your website, that everybody has to go to church, every Sunday and wear a veil on their head and put, $20 into the collection envelope and their uniforms have to be below their knee, you're going to weed people out before they even understand why you have those rules or why they're good. So be careful what is written on there. Maybe have two sections where, one is for prospects, and then your current families can kind of go in a login section and get the, more of the rules and regulations. So, they're getting the rules, they're getting to see the things that they need as a parent, but it's not, for people who don't understand, it's not scaring the others away.
Yeah, and in this day and age, it is not a big deal to have a fantastic looking website that is kept up to date, that employs some of these modern techniques where we're seeing, things that really make a site stand out. Full width video is still all the rage. Bringing, a little bit of motion, a little bit of animations onto a site. These used to be very, very expensive. I just earlier this morning had a meeting with a customer. They had a $25,000 or $30,000 quote to do a website. We're able to use our modern platform to provide a fantastic website at an absolute fraction of the cost of what they might have spent to do, this very, very expensive site. The platforms we're working with now make it, frankly, so relatively easy to design sites that you can make sure that the theming is correct and that as content is added to the site, it looks excellently. No limitation to the number of pages that can be put on sites, no limitations to using full screen video, access to dozens and dozens of predefined widgets that allow you to take very specific types of content and with barely any training to bring those elements onto the site and to personalize the site. Even set up basic e-commerce systems so that you can make a few extra dollars selling items on the site, etc. And so we're, incredibly excited about being able to help schools create beautiful, attractive sites that help them accomplish their goal of getting recognized and getting people to come to the website and make inquiries to the school.
It also makes it easier for the teachers to keep their web pages up to date. Again, someone will, they're thinking about sending their child to 6th grade. So they go on the 6th grade teacher's, teacher page, and, we'll say, we're in, April, and it will say, welcome back to school. It hasn't been changed. And so, having a good system will make it, much easier for your teachers. They won't be complaining or feeling like it's an extra task from there. Right. That inefficient lead nurturing and follow-up, I see Post-its, callback papers, papers all over the whole place. Well, no wonder nobody gets called back, because there's no system. So you have to be having your inquiries in your system. You have to have a calendar to follow up with them, be able to filter your list, invite people to every event that you have without, just see people create their own their own spreadsheets, and they'll keep everybody in there, but it's not doing things automatically and saving you time. We're here, you can schedule emails to prospects, you can invite them to, you have all the kids that said they were interested in basketball, you can invite them to the upcoming basketball game next week.
Maria, this is just a great point. Again, it only takes a few minutes to accomplish these very, very important tasks using modern systems like this. I want to find a list of every single one of my prospective students that said that they were interested in basketball. We can identify them very, very quickly. We can take advantage of the fact that the email templates allow you to go ahead and send personalized invitations to events that will resonate with the prospective student because you've already gathered the data on them. And so now, without having to sit down and personalize each one of these invites, the system will merge information from those student prospect records into the communication and allow you to blast that out now or later. And fortunately, our system also allows people to sign up right online for these events and then give the people at the school visibility into, hey, who signed up for this thing? And who actually showed up at the event, because the messaging that you're going to want to send to them needs to be different. You got to have a different message for the ones who showed up at the event rather than the ones who said they were coming but didn't actually show up. So yes, all of those things are possible with a dedicated system that has the tools in it to make it possible for you to bring some automation to the game. Yeah. And just a little further, speaking of automation, systems like this also allow schools to control the automated responses. I mean, when somebody comes to my website and they fill out an enrollment form, they're going to get a personalized message back where we're going to take that data and merge it right back inside of that communication and make sure that it goes out automatically as soon as they submit the forms in.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you, let's say you have a deadline for something, you can set it up to schedule, this reminder a couple days before, correct?
That's absolutely true. Yeah, the system is designed so that, for example, if you have a situation where people are signing up for a particular event, they go to the site, they fill out the form, it tells them, yeah, there's 6 spots left, go ahead and sign up. And then it'll make sure that after they put in their information that they can go ahead and get an automatic reminder. This is all part of the automation, all part of taking advantage of these modern tools and making sure that we're reaching out and touching people and following up with them consistently so that they don't fall through the cracks.
Excellent. And as I said, time kills, playing the waiting game, getting a lead. Somebody goes somebody calls on Friday afternoon at 4:00, goes onto your voicemail, and you're not getting back to them until Monday. They may have called 3 other schools on the weekend and already be scheduled for, a tour on Monday. And meanwhile, you've lost out. So, everything has to be set earlier. Setting your tuition so that you can start enrolling right after October 1st of each year. Once you know your tuition, you can start enrolling. The re-enrollment. Why are we asking everyone to come back every year? Why don't we just do the continuous enrollment year after year? And that again, technology and Rediker in particular helps you do that without like set it and forget it, automatically in December or January. It's assumed, everyone gets the information, they re-up their information and they're enrolled. You're not chasing them down. You're not spending your energy chasing someone down when you could be using that energy to attract and recruit a new person. Enrolling pre-K and K, having open houses, get everything moved up. Don't wait until Catholic Schools Week, and use the technology that saves time to make this all happen right away. Stop chasing down your current students when your job should be to be pulling in new students from there. And the technology of, maybe Ted, you can show that little bit of that continuous enrollment.
Oh yeah, well, we bake it in right from the front. A little bit earlier, I referenced an online application that a parent was filling out. And you could see one of the very, very first things they see when they come in here is they're going to be presented with the continuous enrollment agreement. We just started off right up front, let them see that part of it. And by the way, I'm still shocked that only about 40% of Catholic schools have adopted a continuous enrollment model. And every single year, basically question the parents, like, are you going to actually come back here? Instead of taking that mentality that of course you're coming back here. It's already assumed that you're coming back here.
Yep. So, yep. So lack of storytelling and personalization. And again, the more information you collect, the better you're going to be able to connect with other people and have the storytelling. So you want to sell hope. You want to talk about, we have, I want my kid to go to, Penn State University when they graduate from here. Oh, you know what? We have, 20 other students who last year's class went to Penn State. Showing families that maybe came from the same school. Oh, you know what? We have 2 other kids coming from the same preschool that your child's coming from. You can pull that information up right away. I'm thinking about, I'm deciding between this school and the ABC charter school. Well, you know what? I have a parent who came from the ABC charter school last year. Let me connect you with them, and you could maybe talk to them and find out why they left the ABC charter school. And that's going to be another person selling for you, but having that information, being able to sit there where you're talking to somebody, plugging it in and saying, all right, do I have anybody else who came from that school? Do I have anybody else who went to that school? Do I have anybody else who lives in that neighborhood? And connecting everybody, feeling that community and that friendship and that going above and beyond before they even get into the school. And then, of course, the pre-populated forms for data verification talk about, saving families time, money, headache, and bottle of wine to have to refill everything out again. I have 4 boys. And I mean, when I got those green cards and envelopes of forms that I had to keep filling out year after year, I kept thinking, what century are we in? Why do we have to keep doing this? If my school had only had, a system like this, I think I would have been a lot more relaxed in the beginning of the school year.
It's so funny. Last week, I spoke to a prospective customer who uses another SIS system that is incapable of pre-populating re-enrollment forms. And she described the scenario as parents with torches and pitchforks coming after her. That's how much they hate the process of having to fill out all of the same information that they gave last year. Instead of being able to access a system that pre-populates with all of the current data that is on file for that student, and then allowing the parent to go in here and change anything that's wrong or fix it, fill in anything that's blank, and then submitting this on in, allowing the school to bring that data back into the SIS without anybody having to go and compare data from a piece of paper to the database and try to figure out what has changed, if it's changed, read the chicken scratch and all that. It pulls it right back in and applies it into the student database without any other interaction on behalf of the user. So the parents love it. The staff members at the school love it. Everybody loves that ability to personalize things by pre-populating those forms.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I would have loved it, especially when you have more than one child and you're filling it over again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And finally, all of this sounds great, but if the organization can't change without the leaders, who cannot change with them. And, I say that, it used to be, if you build it, they will come. Well, it's not that way anymore. We have to meet our families where they are. And where they are is busy, busy with many, many choices, many opportunities, many people vying for their child to come to their school. So we have to be as sharp and make it as easy as possible for our families to get the information that they want, to come in and meet with a person, to be engaged and to, want to come to our school. And the more we turn this over to technology, the more personalized we can get with our families. And that's when we connect. That's when we're sitting down with someone and they're connecting with us personally. That's when we get them. That's when they want to come to our school.
See, that doesn't sound right, that the more we use technology, the more personal we can become. But it actually is.
Sounds like an oxymoron.
It absolutely does.
But it is, because it's taking care of those mundane tasks of chasing after our families and, calling making a whole list of phone calls for all the people that didn't submit their birth certificates yet, or didn't do this, or haven't sent their re-enrollment fee in. And actually that gives a bad impression, because we don't want to do that. We're bugging somebody. We feel, embarrassed. They don't want those calls. They want the personal calls. And this enables us to do that and to really get personal with somebody.
Yeah, systems now, of course, allow schools to send text messages or voice phone call messages, email messages, and to be very, very particular about where, who's going to receive these messages. I mean, in our system, the recipients can be picked by grade levels. They can be picked by their classroom. They can be picked by groups of students, like all of those who haven't returned their re-enrollment form yet. Let's send a message out just to them, not the entire school.
And you can send it with the link, that all they have to do is click on the link and it takes them right to do it, right? So they're sitting in the doctor's office, the orthodontist with their kid, they get the message, they click on the link, they sit there and do it right while they're sitting in the waiting room instead of reading the magazine. Make it easy. No shows for interviews or appointments, open houses. They get an automatic message to remind them instead of, having to do that. Let's make a list and see who's attending. Let's call them the day before, set it and forget it. Right.
Yeah.
So in making enrollment a priority, you have your strategic vision, you put the right people into place, you train those people, you hire the right person and you train that person, you put that right technology, and then you're creating that better experience for your parents, your students, and your staff. I mean, everybody's happier. Parents are happier. The students are happier. They're not getting hollered at because the paper that needed to be filled out is crumbled in their book bag. The staff's happier because everything's flowing along, and happy plus happy equals increased enrollments. And then we're all happy.
We're so happy to speak with anybody who has questions on enrollment and on retention, about the technology, or about the methods that can be used. We certainly hope that you would reach out to us and say hi through email or phone calls and just get a conversation started. We're certainly willing to help. Hey, Jessica.
Hi, thank you guys so much for being hosting this webinar today and providing all this wonderful information to our teachers and administrators. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll get this video posted for everybody, and I'll be sharing the links with your organization as well as the links out to all of our attendees who registered or watched today. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.